Hi everyone. If you know me, you're gonna hate me for this review, but this is a Tool Ænima review. Their second full-length album, their third uh, uh, play, because they had an EP before. But if you know me, I've just talked so much about Tool. It's gotten really annoying for a lot of people, and I can understand why. Uh, Personally, I've overplayed them way too much, so some of my takes on here might be a little bit stale. Please forgive me for that. That's um, just personal mistake on my part. I should have uh, taken longer to really let the music grow on me instead of just listening to it like 20 times a day on repeat. But anyways, back to the actual album. This was their second album. Their first album, um, it doesn't really work for me. I know it has a lot of fans, but a lot of the deep cuts don't really hold up when compared, in my opinion, compared to the singles like "Sober" and the following track on that album. And the closer is pretty great. But on this album, I think every track stands out in its own way and makes it a really great album. Starting off with Stinkfist. The lyrics on here are pretty funny. I'm not gonna discuss them, of course, but it's got this really nice sort of disgusting groove to it of it's like it sort of reminds me of like a Swans song, and I feel like this album had a lot of Swans influence. In fact, I think a lot of Tool's earlier material did. Um, but yeah, Stinkfist is one of my favorite songs on this album for a lot of reasons. I like the chorus. The chorus is nice, and as it sort of goes along, it's really great. And the bridge on here, Tool's bridges always really stick out to me as being really interesting because they are I'd consider like a jam band. So when they're just doing whatever, it's really entertaining because they can do it really well. So yeah, and then Eulogy has this incredible, like, I'm not sure how long it is, but it's quite a long intro of these sort of weird, I believe, claves and this odd, like, kazoo, but it's not exactly. It's like all electronic a little bit, um, sort of synthetic, but not in a bad way. And they sort of go around doing all these weird polyrhythms. Tool is known for their like polyrhythms and their odd time signatures. That's what makes a lot of their music great. Is just how complex it is, but it stands as far as writing goes as well. They're not they're It's not just like they're playing like 36-12 or something like that, and it's just not anything worth listening to. Like the writing on this thing is really solid. Lyrically, Eulogy is not like the topics they discuss here. I really strongly disagree with, not because I'm Christian, but because of the way it portrays Christian people. I'm not a big fan of, but separation of the art from the artist. I'm forgiving of someone like Kanye West as well for saying really terrible things that I morally disagree with. But as long as it's written well, I don't really care. And the musicality on this song really makes up for that, and I think it holds it together, especially with the it's sort of like in two parts. You have like these like verse chorus normal parts, and then you have this weird third part where it's sort of like just swimming all over. Like there might like a chorus might come in, or there might be this like completely different part. It's just all over and just really fun to listen to. H on here is a fan favorite. I wouldn't call it a me favorite, but it's still really good. It's got this nice, I believe, like sort of bass riff. It might be a guitar riff, but it's really cleanly produced, which is sort of a nice break from the first two songs on here, which are very, very grimy. This whole album is very grimy, but that doesn't mean it can't have sort of clean spots. But the clean spots even feel like sort of slimy, you know? Not exactly not exactly like super sanitary or anything anything I want to put my hands into. But the lyrics here are super personal to the singer Maynard, whose vocals throughout this are mixed pretty low. I've noticed um, they're not like super way out of the mix, and I feel like in some cases that might hinder like the music. But in Tool's case, it really helps it because, like I said, they are a jam band. So if you treat every instrument, including the voice, as the same thing, you get a lot more interesting mixes than if you just mix the voice way too high. Yeah, not too much to say on that song, but following that, "Useful Idiot" is a nice interlude of this um, uh, sort of industrial. A lot of the interludes on here are very industrial sounding, sort of like a Nine Inch Nails maybe, of just this back and forth of not back and forth in panning, but sort of back and forth in how it progresses, and it just gets louder and louder and louder and louder over the course of like a minute, I believe, and then it all just cuts away into 46 and 2. This is one of my favorite songs of all time, as well as a couple of others that I've mentioned on other by other artists. But this song is like written so perfectly. There's not a note that I would change. There's not any section that I think could be rearranged to make the song more interesting. I think this is one of those few like perfect songs. And lyrically, it's perfect too, talking about sort of moving beyond like your current form, sort of for the betterment of humanity, I guess. Sort of like the next step in humanity's evolution with two extra chromosomes. And just the riffs on here of the bass riffs and the countering guitar riff that's a lot more simple. It's just it's they counter each other in such an interesting way, sort of in a spiraling way, almost like DNA strands. I'm probably just drawing strands there, but it still sounds incredibly cool. And the breakdown on this thing is the best breakdown of all time. I'm gonna say it. Like no arguments there. It's just the best. I cannot think of any possible way that anything could ever top how just the drums sort of go wild, and then you have this sort of screaming guitar into like this weird like pseudo chorus that comes in during the breakdown, but you still have these sort of mountainy guitars just of just all going around it. It's just completely insane and just like so fun to listen to. After that, message to Harry Manbeck. This is sort of like a comedic interlude. Not much industrial here. They sort of took like this sad piano and like the sound of like seagulls and like waves crashing on the beach, but really quietly, really in the background. And they play it over this sort of angry guy just like giving a bunch of like hate mail, like hate like threats against them and everything. So it's pretty funny just to hear the contrast, and it sort of sounds like it's in a call. Obviously, it's scripted because of some of the things they say. Like, I very much done sarcastically, so I don't think there's any merit to the people saying like, "Oh, this was real" or whatever. I mean, maybe it did happen, but certain parts were exaggerated. I don't know why I'm talking about that because that is followed with the seventh track, which is really great. It's extremely, extremely angry, and you can sort of tell that from reading the title. It's a very angry song. It's one of the shortest too, at around like 4 minutes in length, I believe. But it very much has a presence in the album. And then intermission is yet another interlude. This time, sort of acting like a. Sorry, there's some noise. It's acting like sort of like. It's difficult to describe, but I mean the title probably describes it best. It's sort of this like electric organ, really small, like a keyboard, just playing over some of the guitar riffs from the next song, but in like a nice upbeat and really like cleared away sort of production. It's pretty interesting until it's like halfway done playing through like a little lick before this big guitar riff comes in, the exact same thing, but now, like I said, like on guitar, and just shatters through it onto Jimmy, the ninth song on here. Not a ton to say on this song. I mean, the groove's great, the singing's great. I especially like the sort of these long winded that appear multiple times in different sort of forms. Sometimes the rhythms and everything will be different, but every time it never really fails to impress. Just another great track, though not super standoutish, and I don't think it needs to be. I feel like this is one of those albums where it sort of has strength in numbers, but you can also listen to each song on its own. And then Die Eier von Satan is another sort of comedic sort of interlude, although this time it's a lot more industrial with this sort of huge machine sound going on for the instrumental. And the lyrics being this like magical recipe for like I believe like the eyes of Satan or something. Just pretty comedic when you look into stuff like that. I mean, it's super highly detailed. It's sort of the thing that Tool likes doing is making you have to dig to really enjoy their music and appreciate it. Yeah, and the way it's read sort of sounds like this, like I gotta be careful with my words. Sort of like a like an emperor or something, like this like super evil emperor or something. Just delivering this speech to the people, and like it, sort of the crowd cheering back whenever he says "Und Eier," and sort of making it sound really evil, like it's like almost cinematic in a way. The following track, Push It, not a lot to say. It's just like every other track on here, like I said, mostly focused on the jams and the grooves. Though I will say it has a really nice intro with all these weird sounds of like strings or maybe some woodwind playing, though I can't lay my finger on what it would be. This coming from a woodwind player. Yeah. It is a long song. Something else I could say on it is the sort of instrumental break is really good. A nice quiet moment on the song. The following track, Cicero's Some Ability. Jesus, how many interludes are there on this album? There's like one for like every track that comes up, I think, except like the first three. Um, but they each sort of serve their purpose. This one being this really weird one that starts out with like this baby crying before like its screams sort of like break through the sort of the audio playing. Don't think that's the best way to put it, but that's the best way to like. It sort of sounds like something that you'd hear on like a lo-fi record where it's like it's too loud for the microphones to pick up, so they sort of like crackle. But then you get sort of this weird like grinding noise in this ear, and then this your left ear sort of sounding like it's trying to start up a machine, and then sort of failing, and then getting louder, and failing, and then louder, and just like that until it eventually dies. And then we get to another one of my favorites, Ænima. This is sort of the title track, but not exactly. It's spelled slightly differently. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it was just like an error in the writing, or maybe they did it intentionally, and it's just some super deep message that I'm not picking up on. But this song is just really great, talking about how like useless everyone in like all the Hollywood elites are. And I think everyone can sort of relate to this song, and just hating on how like insignificant the worries of these people are, and how like they should really be focusing on bigger issues. It's aged incredibly well, I think, and the grooves on here too are just so good. Of just this really loud guitar, sounds like something on some of the other metal or rock albums I've listed off that have been on this list, though a lot more. Um, I'd The rest of this album isn't quite as far. I guess that's how I'd say it. It doesn't go quite as far in the normal metal direction. There's a lot. It's a lot more sort of bass focused, while this one is very much guitar focused in the grooves. And the structure of this thing too, it has just this spectacular build after the halfway point, where there's just these chants of "learn to swim, learn to swim, learn to swim, learn to swim," and him listing off all the things that he hates about LA, or yeah, Las Vegas, not Las Vegas. I'm sorry, Hollywood. Yeah, just another fantastic track. I love every second of this. Um, Following that, we get another interlude. Yay! This one is Ions, where you just have this sort of electronic flickering going sort of in like a circle around the panning, which can feel a little bit gimmicky at times, but I think it sort of serves its purpose, and I think it has a nice atmosphere to it too, with all this sort of metallic rumbling in the background. That sounds great, and sort of prepares you for how dark Third Eye is, the closer for this album, the 15th song, which is this almost 14-minute long, it's like 1 second short of 14 minutes, 14-minute long, like weird prog metal, sort of stoner rock infusion. It's just so crazy to listen to. And it starts out with these comedic sketches by recently deceased at the time of this album being made comedian. And as it progresses, the sketch progresses, all these other ones come in, and the instrumentation sort of starts getting louder with all these revving guitars. all that keep going throughout the song. Until we get this fantastic point where all these chords come in, and they're just so good. They sort of sound like westerny to me a little bit. But after that, we get the first verse, and I can't go over everything on this song. It's 14 minutes long, but for the most part, it's sort of all these. It's very much a jam song, like a lot of the songs on here, but especially this one. It has these long instrumental passages between each sort of verse or line. Everything there. The sort of difference between verse and chorus on this song is really blurred. I can't really name a chorus except for towards the end, but that I'd call that more of just a hook. But I do really like I said at the end, where it's just hammering every single note, prying open my third eye, just over and over. And then right before the song ends, we get this weird like 3/8 polyrhythm of the exaggerated points where they say that sort of saying, and it sounds really cool, like an epic finale before it all sort of slowly dies out and it ends. But I think that sums up everything I have to say on each individual track on here. So yeah, what we get with this album is very grimy, but at the same time very sort of psychedelic. It hints a lot at what they would do on their next album, which I'll talk about tomorrow. But yeah, definitely check it out. This is a really good intro into Tool's discography if you're like a grunge fan or maybe like an old alt metal fan. Because a lot of the songs on here sort of stand as that, but they also have a lot of complexities to them and a lot of stuff that starts to stand out when they're listened to in an album format. I think really makes this one stand out. So I think it's a 10. There's not a single track on here that I could say I dislike by any means, and the highlights on here are just such highlights. Stinkfist, 46 and 2, especially 46 and 2. Ænima and Third Eye are just excellent. I forgot to say that Third Eye is one of my favorites. But yeah, that's all I have to say on this album. Let me know what you think, if you have anything else to add in the comments. But other than that, thanks for watching.